Welcome to Loksatta Yashasvi Bhava. Dear students, by now you must have finished studying all the chapters from the science textbook. You are well aware that your question paper is going to include about 20 to 25% of hot questions that you have. These are high order thinking skill questions. Around 12 to 15 marks of these questions are included in your question papers. The idea of introducing these HOTS is just to evaluate or assess whether you are able to apply the acquired knowledge from your text into the real life situations. So children, you need not take more tension about this type of questions. All that you have done in your lessons, you just have to understand and see that you are able to apply the concepts of different chapters in the respective questions that are there. So when you read the question, first try to identify the chapter from which it is, and then try to apply whatever you have got the knowledge about this question from the respective chapter that is there. Let us discuss a few questions from different chemistry chapters that you have in your science and technology textbook of standard 10th, which includes the chapters like the school of elements, acid-base chemistry, metals, understanding metals and non-metals, carbon and carbon compounds, and the magic of chemical reactions. In general, we will discuss a few questions related to these different chapters so that you get an idea about what are these hot questions that are going to be asked in the question paper. Children, you also have to remember the answers that you are going to write to these questions will vary depending upon the marks that are allotted to a particular question. You may get these hot type of questions ranging from 1 mark to the 5 marks questions. So your answer should be proportionate. According to the marks, you should be able to write down the answer in a particular format. Let us discuss a few questions from the chapters that we have taken from the textbook. Now, with respect to the school of elements, the concepts that you have to remember is how to identify the triads, the Bernier triads that are given in the textbook, then to identify the metals and the non-metals, the elements belonging to a particular group, elements belonging to the particular periods. How do we identify them and what are the type of questions related to them? For example, the atomic number of certain elements are given to you. From these numbers, identify whether they are metals or non-metals. Like an element A has atomic number 11 and element C has atomic number 17. Identify which of them is a metal and a non-metal. Element A has atomic number 11 and hence its electronic configuration will be 2, 8 and 1. Hence, this atom will easily be able to give away one electron to attain stability, and hence it belongs to a group of metals. So those elements which give electron or have tendency to give electrons are termed as metals. Whereas element C, having atomic number 17, has the electronic configuration 2, 8 and 7. So it is easier for this atom to take one electron to attain the stability. So it belongs to a group of non-metals, which means that non-metals accept the electrons whereas metals give away the electrons, and that is how you can identify from a set of elements that are given to you in a question. The other type of question is to identify which group or the group number of the given element or the period number of a particular element. For example, atomic number of magnesium is 12, hence its atomic configuration, electronic configuration will be 2, 8 and 2. It occupies 3 shells and hence magnesium belongs to the third period. Whereas the outermost, that is the valence electrons, are 2 and hence it belongs to the second group. So that is how you can identify the number of shells is associated with the period number, whereas the number of valence electrons is associated with the group number. So you may get a set of elements and you will be asked to identify which group they belong to or which period do they belong to. So the question, the marks may vary from 1 to 3. They can give you number of elements depending upon the marks. Now let us see a few questions from Magic of Chemical Reactions. Children, this particular chapter you may have to do it thoroughly because there can be enough of HOTS type of questions that can be asked related to real life situations. For example, a shiny strip of iron is dipped in a solution of copper sulfate. Identify the type of chemical reaction and give a balanced chemical equation for the same. Now when iron nails are dipped in a copper sulfate solution, we observe that it gets a reddish brown color on it. Scientifically, what happens here is iron, being more reactive than copper, displaces copper from the copper sulfate solution, hence it gets a brown layer on it, and hence this type of reaction is called as a displacement type of reaction. In the given chemical equation, Fe plus CuSO4 gives FeSO4 plus Cu, where FeSO4 forms a greenish color liquid. Another example of this is to identify the type of reaction is solution of silver nitrate is added to a solution of common salt. Both the compounds here are made up of positive and negative ions. Hence, after the chemical reaction takes place, you will observe that a white precipitate of silver chloride is formed here. The chemical equation will be AgNO3 plus NaCl gives AgCl plus NaNO3, where AgCl is a white precipitate, that is silver chloride. So we conclude that when the precipitate is formed, it is due to the exchange of positive and negative ions of the reactants, and this kind of a reaction is called as double displacement reaction. Here in this particular chapter, you may also keep in mind about the redox reaction. This redox reaction type of question can be asked in any form, maybe in a form of fill in the blank, maybe in a form of giving example of a redox reaction. So keep in mind that at least one type of redox reaction you have to be prepared with. Another type of question could be asked for a give reason is, say, oil and fat containing food items are flushed with nitrogen. Give reason. Oil and fat containing food items are flushed with nitrogen because it is a less reactive gas and also found abundantly in air. Nitrogen replaces the air in the containers and thus prevents the food item from getting rancid due to oxidation. Now, one type of redox reaction may be given to you and you will be asked to identify which compound gets reduced and which element or the compound gets oxidized in the given reaction. So few redox reactions you will have to keep in mind. Definitely one type of question can be related to this. Now let us see some questions from acid base chemistry. Say for example, so if you have to identify regarding the strong acid and the weak acid, a type of question could be, equal length of magnesium ribbons are taken in two test tubes A and B. Hydrochloric acid is added to test tube A, whereas acetic acid is added to test tube B. In which test tube the fizzing occurs more vigorously and why? When the chemical reaction takes place, we observe that the fizzing or the effervescence of gas is seen more in test tube A, whereas comparatively it is less in test tube B. Hence we can conclude that hydrochloric acid is a strong acid, whereas acetic acid is a weak acid. So in this way they can frame certain questions where you will need to identify the weak acids and the strong acids. Then also from acid-base chemistry, one type of question could be, from the pH values you can identify the nature of the particular solutions. For example, 4 solutions A, B, C, D when tested with the universal indicator shows pH as 4, 1, 11 and 7 respectively. From these pH values we can identify the nature of the given solutions. Solution A has pH 4, hence it is weakly acidic. Solution B has pH 1, hence it is strongly acidic. Whereas solution C has pH value 11 and hence it is strongly alkaline. But solution D has pH 7, hence it is neutral in nature. So from the given values here, the concept of the pH values has to be very clear to you, that those solutions which have pH 7 are neutral and those solutions which has pH value between 7 to 14 are basic in nature, whereas from 7 to 1 or 0 they are acidic in nature. Similarly, some HOTS type of question like, Sunita was stung by a wasp and Anita was stung by a bee. Sunita was relieved by using vinegar, whereas Anita was relieved by using baking soda. What is the chemical nature of the wasp sting and what is the chemical nature of a bee sting? Children, you may also refer to the article to get an idea of more HOTS type of questions that are related to the chemistry chapters in your textbook. Let us see a few more everyday or real life situation examples like, Sunita was stung by a wasp and Anita was stung by a bee. Sunita was relieved by using vinegar, whereas Anita was relieved by using baking soda. What is the chemical nature of the wasp sting and what is the chemical nature of a bee sting? Wasp sting is basic in nature because Sunita was treated by vinegar and you know vinegar is acidic in nature. So if we make use of when acidic and basic substances react together, they neutralize the effect. Bee sting is acidic in nature. Hence Anita was treated with baking soda because we are all aware that baking soda is basic in nature, and hence we conclude that the bee sting could be acidic in nature. Now let us discuss a few questions based on understanding metals and non-metals. Here these questions also like which are related to our everyday life situation. Can we store ferrous sulfate solution in aluminium container? No, we cannot store ferrous sulfate in aluminium container because aluminium is more reactive than iron. Hence it will displace iron from the ferrous sulfate to form aluminium sulfate, and due to this reaction the aluminium container will also get damaged. Now there is one equation that is given to you, or one chemical reaction that is given to you in your textbook is a Thermite reaction. Instead of asking you a direct question on it, the question asked could be of this particular kind. A compound A and aluminium are joined are used to join railway tracks. Identify the compound A, name the reaction that is taken place here, and explain the chemical reaction. Children, you are aware that the railway tracks are made up of iron. That means this compound A is a compound of iron, that is iron oxide, Fe2O3. This iron oxide reacts with aluminium to form aluminium oxide and iron, and this reaction is termed as a thermite reaction. In this particular chemical reaction, the heat evolved is so large that the iron that is obtained here is in the molten state. This iron is then poured over the cracks. When it is cooled down, it solidifies and it fills up the cracks, thereby joining the railway tracks. This is one of the application of the thermite reaction in an everyday life situation. Similar type of questions can be asked based on this particular chapter. Children, now let us discuss a few questions on carbon and carbon compounds. The concepts that you need to know here are: what are the functional groups, what are the homologous series that are there, and how to identify the IUPAC name of certain carbon compounds. Let us see one example here. First one, give the IUPAC names of the following compounds. Here they have given you a structural formula which contains the carbon atoms and the hydrogen atoms along with iodine. Now, while understanding or while finding out the IUPAC name, we have to see the number of carbon atoms in a straight chain. So, number of carbon atoms in a straight chain here are 2, whereas the functional group that is attached to this is iodine, and hence the name of this particular compound will be iodoethane, because the parent alkane group is ethane here. Now see the second example. The chemical formula for it is CH3, CH2, CH2, CHOH. Count the number of carbon atoms in a straight chain. We have 4 carbon atoms. Therefore, the name of the parent alkane will be butane. The functional group attached to it is OH, that is alcohol, and hence the IUPAC name of this particular compound will be butane 1-ol, or we can even call this as butanol. We put 1 here because OH group is attached to the first carbon atom in the chain here. Okay. Another type of question that could be asked from this particular chapter is to show the electron cross and dot structure of the 4th member of alkane family. Children, now keep in mind, they will not give you the name of the compound. You have to identify the 4th member of the alkane family. So this is nothing, they are asking you about butane. Now, while writing the answer, you first refer to cross is the electron of hydrogen, whereas dot is the electron of carbon. If you don't mention this, the structural figure will not have any meaning. So first, don't forget to mention about the cross and the dot. Now we have 4 atoms of carbon. These 4 atoms of carbon are shown in a straight chain where the dots are representing the valence electrons of carbon, that is the 4 electrons in the outermost orbit. Each electron of carbon is shared by 1 electron of hydrogen on either side. Hence they give to a single bond between carbon and hydrogen, but with an electron cross and dot structure, we show them with a dot and a cross and complete the figure for the compound, that is butane, which has 4 atoms of carbon and 10 atoms of hydrogen. Then the other type of question is with respect to the homologous series that you have studied. In your textbook, there are 2 homologous series given to you of alkanes and also of the functional group OH. Now, this is the question related to the homologous series, where you will be asked to give the first 5 names of the homologous series of the aldehydes as a functional group. Children, you are aware that the general formula for the homologous series is CnH2n plus 1 with a specific functional group here. Now in this particular question, they have asked you with the functional group of aldehydes, hence we use CHO here. The first 5 compounds formed here are methanol, ethanol, propanol, butanol and pentanol. You know that the suffix used for an aldehyde is AL, so methane becomes methanol here, ethane becomes ethanol, propane becomes propanol and so on. Now how do you get the molecular formula of this? Putting N is equal to 0 in the general formula, you get the chemical formula for methanol, that is CHOH. Similarly, when you put N is equal to 1, you get the chemical formula for ethanol, that is CH3CHO. In each case, you will find out the aldehyde group that is placed at the end is the CHO group belonging to a particular parent alkane, and hence a family of aldehydes is formed, which is termed as a homologous series of the functional group aldehyde. Children, this has not been mentioned in the textbook, so please make a note of it, because there are high chances of asking for the hot type of question in your paper. Children, we have discussed enough of questions related to high order thinking skills. If you are thorough with your textbook, reading line by line, it will definitely help you in solving all the different types of questions. All you need to do is keep your eyes wide open to observe certain things that are happening around it. Try to correlate some real life situations, identify which topic it can be related to, so that you can apply all the knowledge that you have got from different science chapters in your textbook, and you will be able to answer the high order thinking skills questions related to this. I'm sure you will be able to do well, and I'm sure all of you will come out with flying colors at the end of it. So do not worry about the question paper right now. Concentrate on your textbook properly. Go through each and every chapter thoroughly so that you will be able to do well in your exam. All my wishes are with you, and all the best for your exam.